The Duke and Duchess of Sussex appeared at the One Young World Summit in Manchester, where Meghan made her first UK speech since she and Harry stepped back as senior royals. We decided to ask an Australian body language expert to decode the footage and explain how a subtle detail suggested a change in dynamic between the couple.
So just before Prince Harry and Meghan entered the auditorium, it was really interesting from a non-verbal perspective. In the last few months, we've seen Meghan really take on a nurturing and protective role, where Prince Harry has seemed quite anxious, ill at ease. We've seen Meghan really be there, orientate her body towards him, always be the one holding his hand, leading, being there in her confident, glorious energy, making sure that he was okay. But in this instance, we saw Prince Harry take the lead. As they were walking down, he had, instead of their hands being interlaced or their hands being palm to palm, he actually had his hand over hers in a protective gesture. He walked to the front, taking the lead, which has been really unusual for him. And even though he obviously seemed quite ill at ease, his lips were compressed. Right as they walked in, we saw a very temporary, very quick, swift cheek puff, so sort of a puffing of the cheeks. And that could indicate a level of uncertainty, a level of almost needing to let it out, needing to regain himself and compose himself for what was coming forward. Of course, Meghan was there, very confident, vivacious. But that fact that he was taking the lead tells us that perhaps under all of that, obviously it's a big thing coming back to the UK, maybe under all of that, there might have been a little bit of trepidation perhaps from her part, which we're not seeing non-verbally, but that we see in the way that he's reacting towards her, the way that he's protecting her in that sort of instance. When they're actually there at the youth summit and, people obviously walking past with their flags, the music's going, Meghan said, now we've got to remember that Meghan Markle is a polished performer. She is an actress. Now, a genuine smile doesn't last a very long time. A genuine smile does not last 2 to 3 minutes. It seems like a genuine smile when she's making it, because only about 10-15% of us can actually crinkle the area around our eyes when we're smiling, when we don't really mean it. What we see is Meghan Markle smiling for minutes on end, seemingly having an amazing time. We see the beautiful, seemingly genuine smile. But in reality, when we have a real Duchenne smile, a real genuine smile, any facial expression doesn't last very long. It's fleeting. It certainly doesn't last for minutes. And, because Meghan Markle is an actress, she can actually activate these muscles around the eyes. Now, only a small proportion of the population can actually crinkle the area around their eyes when they don't really mean it. On the other hand, of course, we have Prince Harry. Now, she's getting into the music. She's having a fabulous time. And Prince Harry looks very ill at ease. He is trying to move to the beat, but it seems incongruent. It seems a little bit out of tune, almost like a fraction of a beat off. And that's sort of reiterating what we're seeing in his facial expressions. Now, our facial expressions are directly connected to our emotional brain. So they're directly connected to what we're feeling and what we're thinking. So even though he's moving along and swaying to the beat, it's slightly out of tune, and we're seeing a slightly compressed lips, a slightly lowered head. We're seeing his body orientated forward. He's clapping, but Meghan Markle's hands are clapping here in full view. His hands are down between his legs and they're clapping down here. What we'll often see with Prince Harry is that he'll use non-verbal protective arm barriers or hand barriers. We'll see him using partial barriers. He'll play with his tie. He'll play with the lapel of his suit. He'll sometimes fiddle with the buttons. And this is a version of that. So clapping with our legs splayed and clapping between our legs is a non-verbal protective mechanism, if you like. It's a way of self-soothing. It's a way of pacifying. It's a way of keeping ourselves close and using our body as a way of self-soothing. In a way, it's almost like a self-hug, but still clapping and giving the perception that everything is okay and things are going well. We see him smiling. And we see some really beautiful, genuine moments of connection between Meghan and Prince Harry. We see these, he'll look sometimes a little bit tentative, look around, look down, we'll see this gaze that's lowered. And then someone will catch his eye and he'll look at Meghan Markle and they'll share this moment and we'll see a burst of this radiant, genuine smile. We'll see their torsos come in and orient together. Their shoulders touch ever so slightly as they look at each other. And so we're seeing these really beautiful moments of connection. I mean, obviously coming back to the UK is probably fraught with a lot of emotions, a lot of heightened emotions, and we're seeing that here. Also remembering that knowing that the world is looking at you, knowing that camera is literally in your face, watching your every move. If you're a polished performer, that's fine. You're used to it. You put on the smile and it doesn't faze you. But if you're not that kind of person, if you're somebody who is a little bit more introverted, somebody who does suffer from anxiety and has a lot of anxiety tells, then that can be really intimidating. And we see that, at times we see Prince Harry smile during the ceremony. And then directly after it, within a split second, we see a compression of the lip. So the lips pushing together. We see a biting of the corner of his lips, a swallowing, and then a quick lick poke, literally in the space of about 1 second. And all of these things tell us, firstly, that he needs to lubricate. So when we're feeling stressed or anxious, the saliva in our mouth tends to dry up, and we tend to start doing all sorts of things with our mouth. It's a self-pacifying way. It's a way of self-soothing, but it's also a way of lubricating when we're feeling really stressed and anxious, and almost as if we have little or no saliva here as well. Look, the thing about nonverbal communication, so our nonverbal communication, our body language, our facial expressions, our gestures, our breathing, our paralanguage reveals a lot about who we are, what we feel, and also our intentions, if you know what to look for. But it can't really give us detailed information about what is going on in someone's head. What Meghan and Prince Harry's body language does reveal about coming home is that they've got this. They're a united front. Regardless of what's going on around them, they're going to at least try to have a good time. And Meghan is projecting this air of confidence, like, this doesn't faze me. We can tell from Prince Harry's body language that perhaps it does, and that she's not letting on, because there's a certain closeness to them at the moment that perhaps wasn't necessarily there a few months ago, and it's obviously they're showing a united front. So I think that's the message here. They're a united front. Whatever is going on, they will handle it together. And they are here. I mean, they're here to do it. They've got a job to do. They're here to do their charity work, and all this other stuff doesn't faze them.